Diamond, could we talk about what typical RPG roles each role fulfills? That is actually what we're going to do next. We are going to talk exactly about that. So I'm going to pull up the single shot pack again, which is why I've kept that one open so that we can talk through everything. Because I think that this is the ultimate kind of video that I wanted to make with regard to that. I get us that and I got answers. Yeah, no, let's talk. Diamond, actually, did you want to hop in Discord voice with me and we could like talk through this side by side rather than this being like a call and response through the chat? And if you're in the middle of something, no worries. This works fine for me. Yeah, no problem at all. No problem at all. Yeah, if it takes a second, no big deal. But having another GM to talk this through in case I either miss something or if there's extra like levels of insight you might provide, I am more than happy to hear what you have to say on it. Here, Diamond, I'm in the Neon Inferno green room chat. If you want to hop on in there, we can have a little discussion whenever you're ready.
Fuck!
And there she is. All of a sudden I hear you coming in just fuck. That's so funny.
Didn't know if you wanted the video feed or whatnot, but we got the chibi Dio's fine.
I've got you. Yeah, no, that's the thing. I've always got the React images layer up, so that should work fine. Allow me to get this pulled up. All right. So before I go away from this, let me just download this tier list real quick. That way I've got it for later.
Yeah, so far the list that you've been looking at, I kind of share a pretty much consensus with you, especially with me. Netrunner is like my go-to. Definitely one of those that like you gotta learn early, I guess. But
yeah, well, you either learn it early or it takes you a little while when you do decide to tackle it to like really wrap your head around it.
Yeah, that really kind of has their hands on the rules.
No, definitely.
And knows what they're up to.
Yep. So let me go ahead and pull up the single shot pack again here. Let's see. No, that's digital dating in the dark future, which we used as a good intro. I'll talk about that another day. It's linked in with this. Okay, perfect. So let's go to the top of this. We'll just kind of start from the top. So again, for any of you who don't know what this document is, the single shot pack, especially for those of you who are GMs who are borderline psychotic, like me and some of the GMs that I regularly talk with and play with, and you're like, please play the game. I want more people to play Cyberpunk RED, and you want to get them into a game. There are two documents that I would say are both really, really worth your time. There's this one, which we will talk all the way through here in this video. And then there is, do I still have it open or did I close it? I probably closed it. Yeah, I probably closed it. It's easy mode. And I can pull it up again real quick here because this will take me like 5 seconds. Because unlike my other one, I know right where this one is. Missions, gigs, RTG, easy mode. There it is. Here it is for all of you to see. So this is Cyberpunk RED easy mode. This one is free on Drive-Thru-RPG. There's several of my videos where I've talked about it. I've left links to it. I will try to leave a link to it in this one.
I'll grab the link. I got you.
Yeah, if you want to drop it in chat for everyone in chat, Dia, that'd be awesome. But yeah, Cyberpunk RED easy mode. If you want your friends to play Cyberpunk RED and they don't want to put money in and you don't want to spend money until you know that they're committed, this is free. This is everything you and your friends need to play the game. It's got all the basic rules. It's got some basic understanding of the world, the lore. Straight up, it's got, information on, all your stats, all your skills, kind of what each one means, the difficulty values so that you and your players know like what the difficulty of everything should be. Bear in mind, this is not as high as this scale will go. In the full rules, they do expand it slightly beyond this top end and slightly below the bottom end. Yeah, but there we go. So that is easy mode there. I will pin that for the next 20 minutes. So anyone, if you want to get easy mode, all you got to do is click on the link that's pinned. And that will take you to the Drive-Thru RPG page where you can download a copy. This is a tremendously useful book. Originally, this was distributed to shops as part of Free RPG Day in, I want to say 2021. Pretty sure it was 2021.
Maybe.
It was either 21 or 22. Because it definitely wasn't last year. It was the year before. It was the year before that. Because I know I jonesed hard for getting myself a free copy or a physical copy of this. And eventually I did get one, and I would go grab it and put it on camera right now. But it is all the way over there, and I want to go through this. So easy mode, though, the digital version is awesome. It even goes so far as to have some battle maps in here so that if you print this out, you can lay these end on end for your players at a table. These, by the way, are cutouts of larger maps that Loki Battle Maps makes. And they do sell a
highly recommend Loki.
Yeah, they are great, especially for those of you playing on a physical table. They've got full-size battle maps. They've got a book of these as well that Artal sells. Last I checked, it was out of stock, but I hope to get my hands on a copy sometime this year. Love them. Got the big ass book, and the big ass book is what I'm talking about. But they sell all the maps from that book as digitals. So if you play on a virtual tabletop, or you have access to like a local commercial printer, like even ones at like Staples or something would do. And we've of course got the life path system, because without that, Cyberpunk would be incredibly boring. And at the end here, we have getting paid. This is a gig that, so even those of you who have played Cyberpunk before, or if you're running it, most of all, you have run Cyberpunk before, but you've never run getting paid. I have to say, like, I have run the better half or more of all the gigs Artal's put out in pre-written form. And this one was so much fun to run. The first time I've ever run it was during the boot camp, and I loved it. The players who played in it loved it. And it leaves a lot of free space for you to interpret stuff as a GM. So I could not recommend this high enough, even to those of you who have groups that you already like playing with and stuff. Get a copy of this, download a copy of this. It's a really good book. And if you happen to be lucky enough to get a physical copy of this book, treasure it. They are paper, like they are. Now I'll go get mine, because I think to illustrate this, I really need to. Diamond, you got the stream for like 2 seconds while I grab this.
Well, yeah. So as someone who has ran easy mode for a group that solely played Dungeons and Dragons, they did enjoy it a lot. And they do a really good job of keeping everything very simple and clear out the gate for you.
Ooh,
so
I'm back. So yeah,
overall, I was pretty happy with easy mode.
Yeah, so I'm gonna switch to just my camera so this is clear on it. But this is what you're dealing with. Mine's just a little bit like creased and stuff, but not too bad considering I had to get this all the way back from Indiana in a carry-on. But it is like, it's a magazine. Like this is not like a high durability, even like soft cover book. It is a full on like paper magazine style thing. But they were giving these away at Gen Con. Logan, thank you so much for the sub. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for the Prime. But yeah, at Gen Con 2023, they were giving these at the booth. When I say we gave all these out like day 2, I'm trying to remember. They may not have even survived that long. No, you know what we did? We had a set number of these we gave out day 1, and then day 2 or 3, because I think we saved them maybe till Saturday, we put out all the remaining ones we have, and by like noon, they were gone. And the vendor hall didn't open until like 10 a.m. So in like 2 hours, all the remaining copies of this we had were gone. I made a choice very, very early the first day when I got to my position as a volunteer helping to pick up my copy and stuff it in my bag behind the counter so that I had it. So like, yeah, when I say these are hard to get, if you didn't get one at Free RPG Day when they came out, they are not easy to come by. They are things that like the people who are like, oh, do you guys have any physical easy modes left? Like whenever I told someone, no, we got out, it was like sold out of those, or you know, gave them all away like 3 hours ago, they're like, damn it, I should have gotten here earlier. And it was like that happened several dozen times throughout the weekends. So yeah, let me go back to the main monitor. All right, so we're back on the main monitor. So now that I've talked easy mode up, this is the thing I recommend most highly to people that are like iffy about GMing or iffy about starting the game. This will not steer you wrong. It'll give you and your group a good idea of if the game is a good fit for you. My opinion is if you're coming from D&D or Pathfinder and this is your first game outside of those genres, like your typical fantasy, polyhedral, class-based game, this, you will catch on to this super easy. It's not going to be hard at all. It'll be probably the best fit, in my opinion, of any system that I have played since like deviating from just D&D. So yeah, let's talk about the single shot pack, which funny enough, I didn't realize until I just did that swap that the single shot pack uses the exact same art as Getting Paid. That's hilarious. But so yeah, this is the single shot pack. So this easy mode for ease of access. See what I did there? They only give you half of the rolls because they assume that easy mode is the only document you have. And so in easy mode here, let me pull that back up here real quick. For rolls, or the rolls at the very end, they might be at the very back. They are. Okay, cool. So yeah, so you get the media, you get the med tech, you get the tech, you get the solo, you get the rocker boy, and that's it. So you don't get Netrunner, and you don't get like a lot of the crazier roles, like, you know, like tech, med tech, solo are pretty good. Like I'd say that that's a pretty solid one. Media, I thought, was a kind of interesting choice for them to do in the single shot pack, but it kind of makes sense because they're one of the only other roles that doesn't really interact with like the economy, for example, which is extended.
Fair. I did feel though that maybe Nomad could have been a little bit more of a close second runner to Media in that case.
Yeah, but then you have to explain all the options that a Nomad has, or give them a default vehicle, which...
Well, I imagine for like easy mode, they would have sent you a pre-built.
Yeah, that's fair. You just need to be able to fit that in with like whatever this little blurb is for them, which does get a little tricky. Because for the hold up, I'm gonna rotate so I don't have to tilt my head sideways. So roll ability, surgery skill. Okay, so they just truncate your roll ability. Yeah, so they straight. Wow. Huh.
Yeah, like your maker, like techs, like literally you just get a little boost to electronic security tech.
So no, but so okay, because then wait, what do they give the media in this? Roll a 1d10 higher than a 40 than a rumor. Oh, interesting. Okay. So
yeah, it's like heavily adjusted rules.
Yeah, but then so that really makes me understand why they didn't pick Nomad, because then for Nomad they would have had to add a whole extra like sheet to the Nomad to give you your car stats and stuff if they're doing this truncation of roll abilities. Because they really don't do that in the single shot pack. So this is going to stand by contrast to the full rules. So now, yeah, let me...
So I've got single shot pulled up over here, and it's got all of the different people up with all their abilities present.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, let's talk through them. So we're gonna talk through them one by one. So
Okay.
we're gonna give. So what I'm gonna give is a because this was something I noticed that other RPGs do a little bit, is they'll give you a role or a class, and they'll tell you here is the type of player that would play this role or class, and give you like a 3-point bulleted list of like why. Here are the reasons you would, top 3 reasons you would run this. So, and then we can talk about them in more detail beyond that. So I would say, Rocker Boy, you would play this role if you are interested in moment-to-moment social interactions, playing a highly manipulative character like a bard or a rogue in other more fantasy-adapted games, or you just like a very stylish kind of gameplay that leans heavily into like style over substance and like societal limelight gameplay.
If you like it where your presence speaks volumes over everything else, Rocker Boy, hands down, is gotta be that role.
Yep, I would agree. Yeah, they're so in, and again, let me pull up. So this is, again, we're going to the wonders of MS Paint. Say hello to the superpower. All right.
I didn't know if we were gonna make a tier list for it.
we aren't making a tier list. No. But we are, because this was a concept I described to some other people that I played Cyberpunk with. So we've got like, this is going to kind of be a weird one, right? So we've got kind of a 3-way split, right, between roles in the game, right? And these can be generally summarized as, we have faces. The fact I can draw that smoothly with a just a mouse is incredible. So we have faces, we have combat,
And then,
And-
it looks like I'm blocking it.
oh no, it's all good. It's all good. I will do this
And
so it's
then
easier to see.
utility down
And
there
then
at the bottom.
down here, yeah, we have what I call specialists. So these are
Okay.
yeah, these are like, they fulfill a very specific role, but they all matter in their own way. But that's kind of their common thread, is that they are a specialist in something, right? So for the faces specifically, oh, hold up, I wanted to.
Played a Rocker Boy priest trying to convert people to his AI god.
Hell
Unfortunately,
yeah.
my buddy hasn't been. Oh gosh. We found the Warlock player.
That's awesome. I love Rocket Boys so much, but I haven't ever had a chance to play one. You should. The next time that we get, next time that you get a chance, or if you ever want to play at my table, like at one of my paid gigs, like I would happily have you do that.
Also, I hope you don't mind, Emmerron.
No, not at
But
all.
like, I guess if you can't navigate it at M's table, my table, I've got openings as well.
Yeah, we both do
So-
start playing gigs, so both of you, like both of us, would be happy to have you at our tables.
I would recommend Emmeron for those of you guys who are starting. I can work with starters. It's just Emmeron's boot camp turned out to be very, very good for starters.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun running it. It was something that like it's one of those things that it taught me a lot about my GM skills that I did not expect, but it was good. Like, it was all good stuff and a lot of good takeaways. So yeah, let's talk faces. So faces in particular, because this applies a little less to the other roles, the trifecta here. But faces are a 3-way Venn diagram. So let me grab circles here so that I can kind of do this more easily. So here we have our three. So there are three what I would call face rolls in the game, right? That are like hard face rolls. So you've got on this circle here, you've got the rocker boy. On this one, we've got the media. And on this one, we've got the fixer.
Oh, okay. Surprised not. Well, actually, then again, exec may fall somewhere else.
Exec, I classify exec as a specialist, and I'll tell you why later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So here's what these all have in common. So we're gonna talk about what each of these has in common. So Rocker Boy and Media are both influencers. So both of these can influence the way things go in the overall city. It's just a matter of one does it right away, the other one does it in the long term. Whereas Rocker Boy and Fixer have in common that they're socialites. So typically, when you're dealing with, I'm gonna just make that color something that'll show on both, like purple. There we go. Oh. Damn it. I wanted to move that still. Well, too bad, I guess it's stuck there. I tell you, I'm ruined by Adobe. Adobe good. So socialites. So these guys, the thing Rocker Boy and Fixer kind of have in common is that both show up in social situations a lot. They are very much like, you go somewhere and you're likely to find both of these people. Medias aren't always around, right? And Fixers and Rocker Boys both derive power from interacting with other people face to face all the time. Whereas medias can kind of influence things slowly over time in the background. Fixers and media have power in common.
Well, I mean, also connections too.
Well, and that's kind of how they exert their power, in my opinion, is they become power brokers. So they are like, medias and fixers can both long-term influence things. Fixers have to play their cards much more particularly, in my opinion, for that to be true. But it does enable them to do that. But yeah, so this is where we kind of get the overlap. And in the middle, obviously, is they're all like face classes. So they all are based on cool. They all do stuff with the cool stat a lot more than the other roles will, that kind of thing. But these are the kind of the common threads. The remainder, you know, we don't really need to fill them in because they'll be kind of self-explained. But yeah, so this is my little role Venn diagram. We'll continue filling this out as we go through things. So yeah, again, Rocker Boy, you want to play them if you want a face that does immediate influence type stuff, similar to like a very charismatic like bard or a rogue type would in like a fantasy game, or you want a character that is like very flashy and dynamic with the way they play stuff. Also free stuff. I mean, kind of free stuff.
Yeah. I mean, they do a reskin of Grifter and of Rocker Boy knows the Grifter in collecting the random. So if you'd rather play someone that you take what you get and then you keep moving on, that is totally a way to play it. A little more risky though.
Yeah, because like let me pull up collecting the random, because that could be a fun little thing to talk about.
Because that book does help provide some great ideas when it comes to wanting to play that role's ability, but not play that role's societal placement. So I think the reskins are
they're right here.
Those are the combos. I think the reskins are further up. I think they're like page 2 or 3.
Reskinning rolls. Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, so we'll talk about these in a moment. We'll go through this as maybe a second thing, but yeah,
Oh, definitely.
this is its own discussion. But I'm down to have it. But yeah, so to kind of cap off Rocker Boy, that's the reasons you might play one, and kind of what they're capable of.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we have the Fixer. So you play Fixer if you like to be the one in the room who knows things that others don't. So specifically, if you want to the sort of like knowledge elements of like a Batman character, where you know the kryptonite under the drawer that's there for Superman, and no one else in the room knows you have that. That's Fixer. You also play Fixer if you want to be like a merchant subclass of some kind, because they kind of control all the movement of goods. They know where to get certain goods. You also might play Fixer in the event you want quieter control through power or political gameplay. I would argue more than any other role, Fixer is probably the one that has the most immediate political power in a situation.
Mm-hmm. You're very much going to be that person that knows that guy, who knows this guy's brother, who happens to have an uncle that has the exact part that you're looking for.
Or
so
a box of first edition ELO cards that I'm still waiting to open.
Or a very, very, very valuable car.
Or a very, very valuable car that some asshole stole.
The other thing with Fixers, though, that really, I guess, puts them forward compared to Rocker Boys and Medias, is like where Medias can impact how a community thinks. Fixers have a much a much firmer grip on like the heart of the community if you really dig into it. Like, for example, Rex Royale. I know we're getting in there a little bit, but like Rex Royale and Wood Chipper, very dedicated to their communities. You can become a very powerful person in that sense.
You can. You could also play it solitary though, which is kind of interesting. Fixers have that's what I kind of like about Fixers is they have this duality to them where like they're either very self-interested or very community interested. There really isn't much in between for them. Because like, for example, one of my friends, when we were all learning the game, he played a Fixer for a little bit, and he played Fixer not because he was like, let me bargain for things for a community or even to just make money. He was looking for what happened to his mother, and he played the role of a Fixer to broker information and trades for anything he could get at that point and back to his mother. And so his role as a Fixer was extremely self-interested, but it made for a very compelling character all the same. So there is that as well to do that. Let me see here. Tito, I think you'd have the media are more down with the work that they do. A Fixer or rocker, you need to be somewhat loud and all around. As media isn't a great idea to let it become known you do what you do all the time. Being a Fixer will not kill you, but being a media in the wrong places will get you killed, in my opinion.
Oh, definitely.
I would agree to a point. Yeah, like I'd say media, you're pretty much spot on. Yeah, like saying you're a media in the right situations or wrong, depending on how you look at it, will absolutely cause you to die. No doubt. That said, I would counter that being a rocker in the wrong area could just as easily land you killed. If only so someone could say, like, oh, I was the one who took out Johnny Silverhand. You get enough of a reputation for this sort of message you're preaching, Rocker Boy will have the same result. Like, if you're really anti-corporate as a Rocker Boy, you'll have a price on your head, same as a media will. Being a Fixer can get you killed depending on whose work your work interferes with. Oh, yeah. Diamond even just is like, oh, I just played into that hand.
I didn't realize how big of a hand I played into, because I thought, what, I think this would be interesting for me to run this gig I writ, where it's like minimal to no combat, and then Oh.
Yeah. I mean, it was really fun. It was really fun. I mean, it was fun to get to roleplay. I'm kind of glad this wasn't an 8-bit session because, like, for Larry especially, he understands that way better than 8-bit would. Like, exactly how fucked everyone was if we're somehow getting tagged by Mr. Kerrigan as a problem. Like, that was awesome. But yeah. Anything else you want to say about Fixer, Diamond, before we scroll on?
I guess the last thing with Fixer, compared to others, like what makes Fixers like especially potent is you're going to be learning more languages. You're going to be able to bargain for better pay on jobs, but especially if your party wants a very certain fancy toy that you can't find at, your typical night markets, your Fixer at the right rank could probably find it for you.
I mean, even at rank 4 where you start the game, you've got access to 500 Eddie items, which, like, that doesn't sound like much, but there's a lot of 500 Eddie items that are, like, actually so fucking cool to be able to
EMP grenades, like, that's the first thing that comes off top of my head. Literally, a Fixer can find it.
Every kind of ammunition in the game is accessible if you've got a rank 4 Fixer. You also have access to things like normal quality weapons, like because normally shotguns,
the Militech Crusher.
Well, I'm thinking to myself, just even your prototype or prototypical weapons that are described in the core rulebook, like shotguns, normal quality ones are 500 eddies. Assault rifles, normal quality ones are 500 eddies. Grenade launchers, normal quality ones are 500 eddies. Rocket launchers, normal quality ones are 500 eddies. So, like, if you have a rank 4 Fixer in your party, you always have access to those items. Whereas if you are not with a Fixer, you essentially need to pay an NPC Fixer with their markup the price of buying one of those items. Or you go and you get a polymer one-shot rocket launcher, which is about as appealing as it sounds.
Hey, look, all it takes... Look, you could fire as many rockets out of it. It's just, you never know when it might go wrong, and it may never go wrong.
Yeah. Market Corn, by the way, thank you for the sub. I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Danger, some are just good at pissing off some large people. Rocket launcher costs 500 eddies. You can literally reshape the face of Night City with that.
Yeah,
that's a very
what if I
literal.
told you could get one for 100 eddies, though? The polymer one-shot rocket launcher.
You're talking you're not talking any polymer one-shot. You're talking the Gunmart one.
The Gunmart Engage. Live better, buy smart, just go to Gunmart. I don't know.
No, I mean that.
All right.
The Engage. So for those of you who don't know what the Gunmart Engage is, it's a 100 eddy rocket launcher that comes with, what is it? Is it 1 or 2 rockets pre-installed?
It comes with. I have it right here. It comes with I think 1 rocket preloaded into it.
But
however,
it's an armor piercing rocket, right?
Yeah, as standard with any rocket, it's armor piercing.
Got it.
Now, would like to note, you cannot unload the Gunmart Engage after it's been loaded. Attempting to remove a loaded rocket or rolling a 1 on the rocket launcher, the ammunition inside detonates immediately, centered on the weapon. It destroys the weapon and the user, sometimes beyond all repair.
Yeah, it's very, very bad. Taurus Slim, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it.
All right.
I like having all my limbs. Thanks. Exactly.
Look, you gotta live on the edge a little bit.
Chumba, you came to run the edge, right? That's why you call yourself an edge runner. Boy, howdy, do I have a cheap way for you to do exactly that for just 100 eddies, which is half off, I might add. You get both a rocket and the launcher to fire it in. You just might blow yourself in the gun up. What? Anyway, we go down now to the solo. Solos are funny. My 3-point list for this is you play a solo if you want to play a stereotypical fighter, regardless of weapon type. If you have a fascination with high octane action combat sequences, or if you want to play the tough guy who can intimidate just about anybody in a room. Thank you to my patrons for the month of February 2024. Your support makes doing what I do easier and allows me to do more with the time that I have. Thank you all so much. If you would like to support me in what I do, please join these fine people by following the link in the description below. Now back to the video. Thank you all. Do you have anything to add to that, Diamond?
I suppose also this is probably the role for anybody who might be coming over from Cyberpunk 2077, who wants to play, their variant of V, which I believe V stands for variable, but solo, it's your go-to right out the gate. It's your bread and butter edge runner. This is probably, your Morgan Blackhand, your Atom Smasher, the Rogue back in the 2020s. Basically, if you want to play that classic, punk where you're out there, scoring it big, shooting guns, and doing that shit, this is the role right here.
Yeah, no, and I do agree. Solo is very
it's the face of Cyberpunk.
To an extent, it's one of the main faces of Cyberpunk, I'd say. But this will take us over. Let me pull up my MS Paint again here really quick for us. This is the first of our combat rules. Because these guys, like I said, I don't think of them as sharing as much in common with each other. Let me just type solo. I can make this black again, because this isn't going to get fit into like a Venn diagram. So under combat, we have solos. And then I'm going to define the others for us really quick. We have lawmen. And this is maybe going to be controversial calling them this, but I can justify my position if needed to. Some of you might be thinking nomads are a specialist class. No, they are a combat class.
No, nomads are definitely in the combat pool.
Yeah, they are a combat class. They've got a whole section of the chapter talking about combat dedicated to vehicle combat. So nomads are a combat class because their driving skills can be used as a weapon. I was told when I was getting taught how to drive a car, defensive driving is about driving a car like it's a weapon, because it is. And if you don't respect it like a weapon, you will probably hurt yourself, someone else, or in the worst case scenario, kill yourself or someone else, or maybe both. So nomads, for that reason, if you can drive a weapon, you are a weapon. Therefore, you are a combat class. So yeah, that's going to be our trifecta here. We'll kind of go over each of those as we come to them. But yeah, that's kind of my justification for mentioning that. Anything more to say about the solo diamond?
Solos, I'd like to throw out there's probably of any of them, which, don't get me wrong, you can have a party all of Rocker Boys or a party all of Tex. You'll probably still have every role almost filled.
Yeah.
However, solos, to me, I believe, have probably the most variety.
Yep.
And most possibilities. Sure, they have their layer progression where they all just earn a pool. However, I have seen, for example, Bold Cup of Joe play 3 different solos, and each solo plays differently.
Yep. I agree with that 110%. I've played with melee solos where they were literal like cyber samurai. I've played with gun solos where their focus was entirely on just like pumping as much lead downrange as you can. I've played
Martial artists.
I played martial artists, really notably. I've run games for martial artists solos, and most recently I ran a game where one of the solos was a ranged melee attack solo, where he was focusing on headshots and being able to throw his combat boomerang in combo with a shot every single turn. So like where he placed a lot of emphasis on single weapon proficiencies and stuff like that. So you can do a lot with the solo. You could play like 5 or 6 different ways and have all of those feel different. And you've got enough wiggle room with your skill points early on, I feel, that you can create quite a varied number of personalities within solos as just like a concept, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But so yeah, going on, so this is kind of just a breakdown of like what all you can do with your points. This is the layered progression I was talking about. This can be freely reallocated, so you're not stuck with anything. You just have to kind of choose, for each combat you're going into, kind of what fits best given the situation. So next we come to Nomad. Nomads, you will play this role if you're a car guy. If you are a car guy, this is the car role. You will find no other car roles. You will also play this if you enjoy car chase sequences and vehicle combat, because that is, again, pretty much solely the domain of the Nomad, or at the very least, you need a Nomad if you're going to do it. And the third is if you like being the logistics person in your group, because Nomads are usually the ones setting up transport from A to B, and that applies to people, things, whatever. If you like that kind of archetype, or like building a character with that as like your background, Nomad is going to definitely fit that for you.
Also with the Nomads, the way I usually will let them roll is, especially if they're like Night City locals, you are going to be traveling across the city much faster than the average gonk in a car would do. You could probably be from Watson to Rancho Coronado in about 2.5 hours compared to the other people that might be there in maybe 3.5.
Yeah. Well, and Toro Slim, just to answer your question, yes, combat boomerangs exist. Black Chrome. You gotta just look in Black Chrome.
Chrome, that is page 100.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, like, did one of the weapon DLCs we got come with a boomerang as well?
Nope.
Okay. For a sec there, I thought there might have been, but yeah. But combat boomerangs are a thing. They've got like a homing tracer in them to run them back to you once you've thrown them. But yeah, Nomads get to pick different vehicles. They got a major buff in Black Chrome because now they aren't stuck with just your generic like compact ground cars or planes or whatever. You are able to pick the other vehicles that are in Black Chrome, which come as like whole packages, provided that they are of a Nomad access rank equal to or less than your existing Nomad rank. And you can upgrade them too, potentially. The trick to that is that when you're first creating a character, you can't do that with whatever rank 4 cars exist. You can only do that if the Nomad access is 3 or less, because you need levels above it to get the upgrade. A lot of people treat light melee weapons as throwing weapons as well, so they can half SP from range, but not raw. Yeah, I would say that that's maybe the only way to make light melee weapons not completely functionally problematic and useless. Poisons and toxins are the only other thing that they have like a use for. So you dip the blade in poison, but if you have a light melee weapon and no poison to dip onto it, then you're functionally just making a bad choice. That isn't an entirely true statement, but it is kind of my personal opinion. Like, light melee weapons are functionally pretty useless outside of poisoning someone.
Yes. Our beloved.
My favorite. Before we talk about the Netrunner, I need to use the bathroom really quick.
All right.
I'm just going to cut us to a break unless, Diamond, you'd like to just take over chat for a moment.
Sure.
Yeah,
Totally.
okay.
I can hang out with chat.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah, I'll be back in just a moment, guys. Diamond, don't embarrass me. This is my channel.
No worries. No worries. No worries. So, yeah. So, Netrunner, which I guess for anybody who has met me or may not have met me, I'm Diamond Dust, and I am a Netrunner VTuber. So, Netrunner by far is like one of my favorite roles, and I'm gonna let Emmerron like really dig into like who should play this. But when it comes to Netrunner, you are very much more going to be not so much like in the the heat of combat, but you are going to be working and digging up other important stuff on site. Because compared to what you see in 2077 or back in 2020, Cyberpunk 2020, you are on site with your crew while you're roaming the net in the facility. And also, there's just a whole like catalog of toys and possibilities for Netrunners. Emmerron and I one night really kind of cooked things up a lot. Sorry to change topics, but do you have any tips on when to end a campaign or how long they should typically last? Well, Logan, for me, I'm a bit of a long runner. It really depends. Like, if you hit a point where like your crew is like doing big jobs, find what that one last job's gonna be. Like, what's gonna be the one that either puts them in the grave or puts them into retirement. Find that job. And honestly, campaigns can last as long as you want them to. It's really up to you. I've had a campaign that nearly went for a full year. I had another one that, I think it went for about a year and a couple months. And you'll just need to find what works, what feels right, what, basically, you look for the shoe that fits. And usually that one last job should be, beyond typically dangerous. There should be, basically stack the chips in your favor. Play rough, but don't play dirty. That's how I feel about it. Or, you don't play dirty, but the NPCs might play dirty. There might be something that they have up their sleeve. Trying to think what other stuff. I suppose also with Netrunners, Netrunners seem to carry a very different kind of story engine to them, where you might find that one thing that the media needs to start up on a rumor to start chasing a story, or you might find important information that the party would want to know about while you guys are at a location, and if you're really up to that kind of stuff, you can find blackmail on people. But yeah, at the end of the day, when it comes to Netrunner, it can be a little complex to pick up at first, but after a little while, you should be all right if you really get going with Netrunner.
I've returned. What all did you
Hello.
say?
Well, basically, I talked about like how Netrunner would be good for like maybe finding like starting points and plots. Like maybe you find that one file that the media needs to get the rumor going, or maybe you find other important blackmail or important information about a building, And also, we talked about like when would be a good time to end a campaign, as asked by Logan. I usually said, make it that one last job, and you stack the chips in your favor, and the players need to overcome those odds, or, well, eat dirt.
Yeah.
And
No, and I can add my thoughts after we're kind of done going through the roles. Because I've got some opinions on that, especially as someone who's gone through now, like, how many campaigns have I run? One. If I just count my Cyberpunk ones, I think I've got 4 that I've run and capped. And I'm working on number 5 now with the second season of Neon Inferno, which is fun because that second campaign is taking place in the same world after the first. Which is something you can do. Campaigns can stack together, but yeah, we'll talk about that in a moment, because that might be its own little topic for discussion. So Red Eye, the Netrunner here. So my 3-point list for Netrunner is: you play Netrunner if you are a fan of RPGs, like JRPGs, and you like, systems within systems. You play it if you're a fan of simulation hacking games in your spare time. You also play it if you enjoy being the stealthy information thief on the crew. So if you enjoy kind of that high risk, high reward gameplay or stealth gameplay, Netrunner is probably going to be one of the best roles for you to play, because that's kind of their whole shtick, is getting in and out quietly and stealing stuff. Kind of like Diamond was already mentioning. You kind of search for an objective, pull the objective out, or in cases where you're attacking a network and they've got embedded defenses, you can take over those embedded defenses, sometimes even before the other people know you're there, and absolutely go to town. Red Chrome Cargo has an opportunity like that that's super fun. So yeah, highly recommend it for that.
I suppose the other thing with Netrunners being high risk, high reward. If you're one of those that you really want that danger, Netrunners like armor, sure, it'll protect you from bullets, but it won't protect you from what's inside the net.
Yeah, unless you run an armor program, and even then it'll be somewhat ephemeral. The stuff it provides you is not that
killer.
Yeah, killers are just they suck. Killers fucking suck. If you're a Netrunner player, you know exactly how bad killers fucking suck.
Yes, killer and then falling right into a pit of hellhounds. Spicy night.
Oh, I didn't tell you, Diamond. I actually sicked a network like that on one of my new Netrunners during the boot camp.
Please tell me they remember their insulated wires.
They did not have insulated wires. They had the pre-gen, so they had this exact character.
Fuck.
Yeah, they went in, but they to their immense credit, they burned all the ice. They burned it all, and then they went down and they took over both the security system and the turrets in this corpo's apartment. It was like the first I was running it. It was the first penthouse completed in Mega Building H10 is the place where this guy lived. And they took over all the in-place turrets that the guy had inside and absolutely wrecked him. It was very cool. But yeah, no, like, killers, fuck you, super hard. Hellhounds, if you don't have insulated wiring, fuck you, super hard. But yeah. Anything, I know, Diamond, you and I could probably just run a whole, I could make a whole fucking video about Netrunner and what it is to be a Netrunner and tips on. I mean, I have made a GM based video on here's how you prep for a Netrunner. But
if we want to shoot a vid like that where we do we actually do a network run for people live, we could definitely do that.
We could in the future for sure, yeah.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, I was curious though if you had anything more to add about Netrunner in the short version of the discussion.
I suppose the last thing I would like to point out with Netrunner, Netrunners do provide a fantastic springboard to build off onto other characters.
Yeah.
Because one concept I had in mind with Netrunner is to pick up ranks in Nomad and put a net architecture in a vehicle. So basically, build myself my own kit, like from Knight Rider.
I was gonna say that's you just making a Knight Rider car at that point. That's sick.
Exactly. I think
No.
it's so cool. Put a fucking demon inside the car.
Yeah, you just need to spend a lot of money.
And you know how you make that money? Go steal information. Go fucking sell it.
That's fair. I mean, because imps cost how much? $1,000?
Ooh, I think it's $1,000.
Pretty sure imps are 1,000. Yeah, let me, because I've got my core book up somewhere.
Yep, 1,000.
Mess. Yeah, okay. Because I think like then Balrons are 5 and Ifrits are 5 and then
$5,000 and then the Balrons are $10,000.
Yeah, that's what I thought. They all staged up one after another. Okay. Yeah, but yeah, Netrunners are a lot of fun. I think that as long as you're down to learn the extra layer of rules that Netrunners have to learn, they can be very accessible for a new player. The caveat I really want to staple on here as a sort of heads up to any new players who might want to try Red, and I say Red very specifically and pointedly here, is in Red, we do not have quick hacking. Quick hacking does not exist. You cannot aim your net head at the enemy's gun and blow it up or anything, or mess with the cyberware, or fuzz out their vision. None of that works. You have to get into the network, and you can only play with the toys connected to it. People are not at the time of the Red connected into any local nets, unless you're a netrunner yourself. In which case, that's the one kind of person that, in theory, you kind of mess with them and their cyberware to a limited degree when you're in a network. But it's mostly by setting their brain on fire, not much else. So let's continue down to Torch, the tech. So my 3-point list. Actually, hold up. Before we do this, I just want to read chat real quick. Yeah. Danger, not yet. Yeah, I know. We do have the Edge Runner mission kit coming soon. We don't know when, but we know that it's going to be sometime in the next few months, kind of based on what RTG has been saying. It's the big thing they were advertising at PAX U. They ran a demo at Gen Con that I did get to play in, and I got to see quick hacking firsthand. And I know that that's changed a bit, I think, from the sort of stuff I hear on the side. But as far as I'm aware, quick hacking, the fundamentals of it, I think, are going to stay mostly the same, and it was very fun. LCC, Netrunners do have a pretty heavy tax to use the ability, so you have to make sure your GM will insert net stuff for you to do, or else you could just feel kind of jibbed. Yeah, this is why in our other tier list, I did mention GMs, if you're gonna run with a netrunner at your table, you need to do prep for the netrunner.
Absolutely.
This is so important that especially if you're running a longer campaign, you absolutely need to have interesting stuff in the net for your netrunner to play with, and you can't make it too inaccessible. An issue that we kept running into when we would play at my physical play group is our GM didn't understand netrunners nearly as well as me, and one of our other players was a netrunner. I was playing the med tech, and I would be doing all this cool stuff as the med tech, saving people and bringing them up, and our netrunner would be in the network, like doing stuff in the net, trying to do something, make a cool play or whatever. But by the time we got to the parts of the net where you could actually do something cool, everyone was dead on the battlefield. So it takes practice. You're not going to be perfect the first time you do it, nor should you expect to be. But it is worth mentioning that you need to take that into account. If you're intending the netrunner to take over a net, you need to consider what kind of a net it is. You have to consider its size. Generally, if it's in a crane or something like that, it's going to be small. It's going to be 6 layers or less, and at least 1 or 2 of the layers are probably going to be passwords. Not
I
all
I I
not all
oh,
layers are going to be
sorry.
ice. That's the only other thing I was going to ask them. Not all layers are going to be ice until you hit the objective. Some of them are going to be just like encryption layers that they can get through with hacking. But yeah, go ahead, Diamond.
But I suppose like one other little thing that I'd like to point out. Think of like net architectures as dungeons. Like you're gonna find loot like throughout the dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
And as Emmerron once put, those control nodes, those files, other stuff like that, that's loot.
Yep. That's the objectives for you as a netrunner. You should always be looking for those things. They are worth their weight in gold or sometimes more. It's the difference between you and your crew getting out alive and getting flatlined. It can be that serious sometimes. So, yeah, good thing to keep in mind. I once ended a campaign with my whole crew up on the Crystal Palace. For those of you not sure what the hell I'm just saying, the words coming out of my mouth and their meaning, the Crystal Palace is a space resort orbiting the Earth. It is a massive, massive space station. One of the endings of 2077, you can see what it looks like. There's also ads in 2077 that it's the Ziggy Q ads. There's one of them that he's like, you can text space to 9915 and go out of this world to the vacation of your dreams. The resort pictured is the Crystal Palace in those ads. But basically, it's literally looks like a giant crystal tower hanging in space above the Earth. So I had my crew go there, and I reasoned if the Crystal Palace is mostly for corpo interests, especially during the time of the Red, because corporations are probably the only ones connected enough to get space transport, then they clearly probably have office space up there. And one of the offices controlled a satellite. The satellite happened to house a rogue AI. The players did not know this. So it turned into our Netrunner fighting in cyberspace for control of the satellite, and the satellite was trying to assume control of the Crystal Palace. And at one point, one of the control nodes was to vent all the atmosphere from the level that the players were on. And the Netrunner had to fight for control of that node so people could keep breathing. Like, that's how serious a control node can be. So, yeah, keep that in mind. But the Netrunners are fun. Like I said, Diamond and I both could probably talk about them for hours because we both play them quite a bit and we both have a deep, deep love for the system of them. It is, for those of you who played 2020, the net running system in Red is so much easier and it's way more accessible. It's probably the best net running system that Cyberpunk has ever had. Straight up. Although, that said, I still want to play the Netrunner card game, which is what it was in the first edition. It was literally a card game the GM and the Netrunner would play. So it's pretty... That I do want to try at some point. It's still being created. But that all said, now we're done with Netrunner. Or at the very least, putting a lid on it till Diamond and I can schedule another time to have like a full-on talk about Netrunner and why they're so cool. We have the tech. So my bullet point list for the tech is, if you're the kind of player who typically plays the type of person that makes things, especially like if you're a really creative player who enjoys creative solutions to problems, a tech probably will be a great role for you. If you're one of the players who likes to tweak your gear and min-max like crazy, tech is probably for you. And if you are the player who is very like, you're not as focused on the social skills, but you still want to have a massive impact on the players in your party, tech is going to be for you. What do you think about that, Diamond?
Techs. I love them. I hate them. I have a love-hate relationship with techs.
Why do you hate
GM.
them? Now I need to hear this story because I don't know that. What do you hate about them?
Now, don't get me wrong. Tech is very much a valid role, but holy fuck, sometimes some techs are just like, "Hey, I have this great idea. By the way, um, we have I have this concept in mind, and I have the money to do it and the time." And I have a look at the invention at first, and it's like, okay, we'll step forward into this and see how this goes, and then, oh, do I regret letting them invent certain things? But anyway, outside that though, before I see the entire tech audience raising their custom made weapons at me, I actually I actually put ranks into tech to upgrade programs, and I kind of look at the situation with techs where they really are like, if you had to put like if you had to put like a tier list for like best to worst roles, tech I'd say solidly sits, head and shoulders on top of everyone else. Not gonna lie, tech feels like it's the favorite child of the red.
I could potentially agree with that. Hold up, I'm gonna just rewrite this so I can center it, because it's gonna bother me if I can't center that last one. I just wanted to go back to our trifecta list here. So our specialists are Netrunner, Tech, MedTech, and Exec. On their face, none of these things have anything in common with each other, except for maybe the first three have like loose connections to each other, kind of, because they're all sort of tech focused. What specialists do is they all have a unique way to solve problems in the game that the other roles really don't cover directly. Netrunners can solve the networks and by extension get access to things that no one else can. Techs can sort of do the same thing Netrunners can do for certain in-place defenses, but it takes way longer. They also are kind of their own animal. The main focus of theirs, in my opinion, is the modification and creation of gear, while having enough technical proficiency in the field to like override and hotwire things. MedTech can make medicines. They can do surgery. They are the only ones who can like easily quick fix or fully fix. They really are the only one who can fully fix certain critical injuries. Some can be fully fixed through, MedTech, or not MedTech, paramedic, which is a skill anyone can in theory pick up, although it's a lot of skill points for someone who's not a MedTech to take it. And then Exec, you are the closest thing this game has to a jack of all trades. Because you can build an Exec to do just about whatever you want, as long as you focus at least some of their stuff on intelligence and the business focused skills that are there. Beyond that, as long as you've done that, you can kind of play around with the remaining stats and skills and build them in the way that you think fits them best. And then just back up the remaining stuff that you leave as like weaknesses or holes in their design with your teamwork ability, which allows you to, over time, get up to 3 NPCs, essentially, of different roles helping you. And you can get one that's like a solo, one that's like a tech, and one that's like a driver, one that's like a netrunner. So yeah, you've got options, basically, and it lets you fill the hole of whatever you've left for yourself. So yeah, that's going to kind of be our trifecta there. It might be a little small because I have to zoom it all the way out, because unless can I granularly zoom this at all, or nope, it's 100 or 50. Paint deems 100 or 50. It is not granular. Thank you, Paint. You're a great program, I think. Let's see. Only thing tech needs is time. So if your campaign allows it, it's literally the best the best thing every time. If you're always on the run and never do downtime, then you're always going to be stuck doing field repairs and not much else unique. How I sell execs: if you pick this role, you get the privilege. You get privilege, capital P privilege at character creation. It's kind of true. A mythic game. Let's see. A mythic GME game with exec being an interesting idea. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where like execs can fit into Adjourner games. I mean, I think when I'm playing in Diamonds as Uncle Larry, I think I've proven that fact.
Oh yeah,
like you absolutely have execs that are interested enough in the result of whatever they're doing to run with Edgerunners.
I guess, bouncing back to tech.
Yeah.
I guess maybe it's just due to lack of experience with techs, but I notice that I have a lot of techs that just specifically just dig into weapons only. But like, again, tech is one of those roles that has a lot of variety to it.
No, they do.
However, I do see not many people take advantage of the upgrades or not the upgrades, the fabrication portion of tech. Like literally, God. you make items at half price.
If you guys, okay, so if anyone like Diamond here does not know kind of the full like scope of a tech, please watch Neon Inferno. Like, I don't say this just to show my own actual play, but like, I say this because two of my players are playing techs right now in season 2, and one of them played a tech in season 1, and basically they're playing techs as I think it's like their most ideal form, in my opinion, where it's not like they are not like fully, in my opinion, min-maxed. Let's see. I still want to see a tech in a Nomad campaign pushing vehicle tech with fabrication as well as out of the box mods. Yeah, like that's what I mean. It's so like you've got these techs in Neon Inferno. One of them this season is literally a drug tech. He's literally cooking new hallucinogens in his cargo container. And filling them into grenades and stuff. So he can dose whole rooms with smoke grenades filled with blue glass and stuff. The other is a more conventional like fabrication tech. But even she is cooking some like inventions and upgrades and stuff that you really wouldn't get access to unless you're like thinking about them. So yeah, like I think if any of you GMs out there are struggling with a tech in your party who wants to make really crazy stuff like, man, I'm gonna just make these boots and they make you go and be able to ignore gravity. I'm like, nah, no, you don't. That's not gonna happen because the tech of Red doesn't make sense for that. It's one of those times where knowing the theory and like the lore and how the world's tech level works helps you as a GM, because then you can justify, like I've had to do it dozens of times between the boot camp and even my regular games. Like, this is why you can't do that, because the tech involved would involve doing X, Y, and Z, and you don't have Y or Z, you have X. So it's like that, being able to say that, and you obviously need the player to be able to like hear and accept like that is it, right? Like that's going to be the way it is. But yeah. Let's see, the economy power play is tech, exec, fixer, and nomad. You could save so much money, get access to such cool stuff so much earlier, and hand the GM interesting plot hooks all at the same time. I will add another role to that list, medtech. Medtechs people don't think about, but when we get to the medtech, I will explain how I play them, and God, I love my medtech.
I mean, medtech was my first as well.
Yeah, just ask Phantom here, since Phantom, you've presented yourself in chat. Phantom is my GM when I play in real life with friends, and he has seen my medtech in action. We've been running the campaign for like over a year on and off at this point. And yeah, like my medtech is very cool. I love my medtech. But they can be absolutely busted for economy. You can do some wild shit with them. But yeah, anything more you want to say about tech at all right now, Diamond?
I don't really have much in the way of tech. It's
Sure.
not that it's not that I hate tech. It's just sometimes I get some ambitious people that play tech.
Yeah, well, and then you have to be comfortable with telling them no, or amending their ideas.
It's like, where is the line?
Right. Well, and so this is another thing I want to say to any GMs out there who are having trouble with that specifically. I would say this is why Black Chrome 1 is such a good book. 2, this is why reading over all of the gear and weapon DLCs that we get for free is such a good thing as well. Because it really lets you ground your thinking in terms of like, this is the stuff we have received that is balanced. From like James Hutt, Mayor of Balancetown, this is capital B balanced. And if we are going to make stuff, we want to deviate only slightly from those lines if we're concerned about it breaking our game in half. If we deviate further than that, we also want to be able to say openly and honestly to the player inventing the thing, hey, I'll let it fly for now, but realize that what you're asking is a pretty steep deviation from like the normal rules as written. So we may need to come back to this later, and we may need to revise this or retcon this to do something different, right? Or limit it somehow, where like you can only use this so many times before it burns out, or whatever. There's all kinds of ways you can work it, and quality is another thing where if you're worried about a gun being too powerful, say, well, then you can make this, but you recognize that it will be a very shoddy thing that you produce, so it'll be poor quality, it'll jam easier, it'll melt down, or whatever. Look to Gunmart. Like Gunmart, for the meme that Diamond and I both make Gunmart out to be, they have some fantastic ideas of what low-grade weaponry failure can look like. And it actually helps you, I think, so very much when you weigh that in with your guidance to your tech on designing new stuff. And I know I've done that for my players in Neon Inferno. So let me see what Phantom say here. Number of lives PCs and NPCs saved by Virgil can only be counted on 3 or 4 hands. Yeah, I probably saved about like 24 people, and one of those hands is entirely our media. Our media has gone down probably 5 times at this point, and I've brought him back from the brink every single time.
Sounds like a liability of an edge runner for your crew.
No, our media has
or is it just you just have bad luck?
Our media is a martial arts focused character, but he's like a glass cannon. But the thing is, he's done some crazy things with his media roll ability to the point that like our crew wouldn't have a reputation without him. He's not a liability. He's our face. And like he is our face, and I will keep my face very much alive. Like Virgil's whole mantra is no one dies while I'm alive. And the one time that happened was our Netrunner. And I've told that story like a dozen times, both on stream and in my videos. And I won't rehash it here, but it is one of the single most impactful like sessions of a tabletop RPG I've ever had, because of the way I built Virgil. So yeah, no, like we now have a Nomad to replace the Netrunner. So it's a Nomad of media and me as a med tech. So it's a fun little crew. Need to sleep. Yeah, have a good night, Logan. Yeah, we'll post this up again on YouTube. So if you miss anything significant, we'll talk about that. All right. So going on. Oh, perfect. Red Tail, the med tech. All right. So my lovely viewers of Twitch and YouTube, the med tech. You play med tech if you want to be a support character to your party in terms of being able to aid them and fix them up. You play a medtech if you're interested in repurposing lost cyberware that you find. I don't judge how you found it.
Lost cyberware.
I mean, sometimes the person who lost it died recently at your hands.
Lost. Okay.
Yeah.
With extra quotation marks. Okay.
Sometimes though, you will find spots where like a bunch of cybered out heads are being used as candelabras, and you just somehow they missed the chipware installed in one of them, and voila! Suddenly, Night at the Opera becomes a salvage yard. Inject enemies with sedative. Yeah, you could do that too.
I mean, my first med tech had, you know, before Hornets came out, had all the drugs, one cryo tank, and some points in the surgery. So you could make a pretty solid all around general clinician if need be. Yes. Or you can really specialize into one particular thing. Like if you're gonna just be a straight up ripper, just go surgery. Put it all into surgery. Maybe a point or two to make some sedatives and other little things to help the healing process.
What I did when I built my med tech is I ignored cryo systems entirely. I put 3 of my starting points into surgery, so I had a base 14, and therefore I can pass almost any check I get thrown. Especially now that I have a Raven Micro Cybernetics Micro Waldo. Easy. Let's see. Virgil never leaves the cargo connept without his big bag for freshly acquired chrome. Yeah, I've got 2 carry-alls. One is a much smaller, like messenger bag or backpack sized one that is like full of my kit and my med stuff. And then the other is a body bag that stays folded in the backpack until the chrome comes out, and then I start lugging that around. But yeah, it's one of those things where like I put 3 into surgery, 1 into pharmaceuticals, so that I had access to some speed heal, and then the surgery is basically what you use to do cybernetic stuff. Then you make a shitload of money with it. It's really, really fun.
Yeah. The cryo pump though.
The cryo pumps can be useful. They can be.
Oh yeah, I cryo gets slept on a lot. I'll be the first to put it out there, especially like if your solo takes an absolute fucking beating. Like, go get yourself a cryo tank. You put your beat up solo in the cryo tank, and then you put them in. Wait a few days, and then boom, you have a freshly baked solo. I'm making this sound like you're cooking us. I'm a little hungry. I'm sorry.
the way I always put it is, Nebby, get in the fucking bag. For those of you familiar with Pokemon, you'll understand that reference.
Get in the bag.
that is literally you as a cryo med tech.
Yeah, Trauma Team app. That's right, Crust. Yeah. Yes.
The TT app and even a Trauma Team subscription in general is really helpful as a med tech. It was actually one of the things I spent some of my starting eddies on was a silver level Trauma Team subscription, because I was like, I'm gonna need this at some point. I was right. I've called them like 3 different times during our campaign. Not once has it been for me. It's literally call an ambulance, but not from me. And then, the person I was calling him for was like, one time it was an exec's daughter that we were saving from an absolutely fucked situation. One time it was our media who was really badly banged up, and we used it as the reason why he wasn't there to finish out the gig with me and our netrunner. And the final time was calling them in to deal with the mass of injured and dead bodies resulting from a rogue AI attack. So yeah, you can make some uses out of it. And if you get executive, you can also get the Trauma Team app assistance thing as part of your package for that. So it's good. MedTech is fun. MedTech is a lot of fun. It's pretty straightforward too. If you're just starting out in the game, like MedTech is a lot of fun. I think they're a great starting role. And they balance out a team really well. Like I would argue, like the 3 things you want on your team is a MedTech. You want someone who can do technical, lock breaking of some kind. So that'd be either a regular tech or a netrunner. And then you want someone who can do some damage with guns, which could be a solo, it could be a lawman, it could be a nomad. You know, like, even if maybe a fixer is particularly proficient in using guns or whatever, like, that could work too. But you're going to want a gunman, basically. It's like, if you've got those 3 roles covered, you're probably fine. But yeah, to continue, the media. So you want to play media. If you have a very specific goal in mind for a long-term arc for your character, like something they always want to do or think about doing, medias fit that role. You also could play media if you want to have a slow burn social influence over the direction of a game. The other reason you might play media is if you really like rumors or creating like social hooks for your GM to lean into. That would be the other thing.
I suppose also with media is if you are looking to also spread your party's reputation.
Yeah.
That is always another very viable option. Because reputation, of course, the way, if people determine if you've heard of you or not, you have to roll against that table, which it's a D10 table at the end of Friday Night Firefight. And honestly, when somebody says, hey, I heard about that in the Screams, it's like, yeah, I'm the one that wrote that.
Yep.
You carry that kind of influence around with you.
Yep. No, and that's very true. You've got some real powers of media, but it sometimes takes 3 or 4 sessions for you to really see the effects of it. But like I said, like, even though I've had to pull my media friend back from the brink like 5 times as a med tech in my campaign, our party wouldn't be the same without our media. Because truly, like, this was one of the times I had to pick him up. This is actually the time we justified Trauma Team picking him up, is why he wasn't there the next session when he couldn't play on that day in real life. The session prior, our netrunner who focused archery as their weapon of choice is up on top of a building, sniping down at this plaza below, filled with mooks that are attacking some of these people that we've come to help. And our media decides, well, I got to get down the action and do anything. So he runs down, is seen by the other guys, lit on fire by an incendiary grenade. And as he literally walks out of the fire, they say, what the fuck is this person's life to you? He's like, they are what I want to protect in this city. And he's like, what are you, some kind of pansy moralist? No, we are the people protecting the city from people like you. You are the rot corrupting the city from the inside. We are the wolves, motherfucker. And then he went in and just beat the shit out of him with wolvers before shortly succumbing to the burns. And he's like, dude, I'm so glad you're there, MedTech, because fuck, Virgil, without you, I would have been dead. And I'm like, yeah, but you made a badass statement. Inject him with some speed heal and cart him off to NC Medical. But like, from that gig on, our group got known as the NC Wolves, the South Night City Wolves, SNC Wolves. So from that point on, we've had a name, and it's our media's fucking he's the reason why. High roll rank medias can either alter the Night City landscape single-handedly, the might of the pen and all that. Branded the Edge Runner team with the coolest line. Yeah, no, we love our fucking reputation. And we gained a large part of it from our media. Yeah, medias are great. I love medias. I think if you're, as a GM, so from a GM's perspective, if you're up to the challenge of writing some subplots in there that your media can lean against, and you're open to hearing their subplots and responding in kind, if you can work together with your media, you'll have a great time. Like, Your campaign will feel very real. It'll feel very lived in. The world will feel alive because your media is an influence on it. So yeah, that's what I have to say about the media. Did you have anything to add from there, Diamond?
And also, something I found with media personalities, though, you can make some fantastic extra characters out of it. I mean, for example, I have Alan Jameson, who this is the voice of, where you could play as a media, but you may just be off the story a little bit, and maybe that's just really what you want to do. You want to you want to put your own spin on what's going on out there. And by the way, of course, Militech did not build a base under Pacifica. That's all.
And that's why, Alan Jameson, you got your teeth punched in, Shumba. For making ridiculous claims like that, because we all know Militech is absolutely fucking under Pacifica. So anyway, that little aside behind us. Lawman. So this one, as I talked about on the tier lists, is controversial.
Lawman.
This one is controversial. I will say, rules as written, you will play a lawman if you have a heavy focus on social justice. You want to play the private investigator type, like if you're really into noir. Lawman or media both could fit that noir vibe really, really well. You also might play lawman if you like knowing that someone could have your back when you get thrown up against the wall by a cyber psycho. Those are the reasons I would say to play lawman out of the box. Like I said, the rollability is pretty underwhelming. Unfortunately, it is pretty underwhelming. Just because the only thing you do is you summon either these guys or something smaller or bigger depending on your roll rank. Rank 10 can call in max tack. But I think that is goofy as hell when you consider that the beat cops are probably the ones most likely to encounter a cyber psycho. Max tack should absolutely be able to respond to those calls if there's reason enough to do so. You shouldn't have to go all the way up the chain of command to get max tech involved if there's a raging cyber psycho in a corporate center. So yeah, it's problematic. But yeah, Diamond, I want to hear your thoughts on lawman as well.
So as lawman looks, so I used to work in private security. And not gonna lie, there's part of a reason I don't play lawman is because I am used to backup just not showing up.
Jesus Christ!
It's just like, yeah, wow, this just walks a little too close. But like, I can understand where they're coming from with lawman, where sometimes you things are just left to chance though in the time of the red, because like they've said, the NCPD is overworked, underpaid, and spread so thin that there's just a chance you won't get help.
Yeah.
Now,
and like there's reasons why that could happen. To be clear, like there are reasons why that could happen. But the way that they made the rules work just doesn't add up a lot of the time to being effective in any way. Certainly not on the level of almost I would argue every other role in the game has more impact from their roll ability than the lawman.
I do feel though that while backup, it's good in the sense that it has some great effects to it. It's like you've mentioned, help may not show up until after the dust is settled. And personally, if I was to really look at it, I would maybe do like the D6 divided by 2 when you're waiting on how many rounds, and then the whole situation with lawman's like D10. There needs to be some modifiers made for like maybe what part of the city you're in. So maybe you are in the Glen. That you count yourself as a lawman of a step higher, or maybe if you're in the combat zone, you're considered a step lower.
Yeah.
Depending on like your affiliation, because of course you have gangers, which is the reskin of lawman.
Yeah, and we'll probably talk about that because I think lawman is we still have the exec to talk about. But then exec probably, I think, is the end of this document, and we can talk about the reskins. To briefly mention chat here, LCC says, make sure to talk to your GM about letting you call in backup before combat, as long as you're smart about it. Let them do things within their organization to get better odds during combat. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
My problem with lawman is the rules as written doesn't enable you to do a lot of those things and have them be consistent to other games. So like what that means for me is that if I choose to play lawman at like Phantom's table, for example, or Diamond's table, and even between those two tables, if I'm talking about it, I mentioned both of you in the same sense because I think both of you are very good GMs, and you would probably come up with some creative ways to make this work. Allow me to just catch you with that drive-by flattery really quick. But the problem is that there's going to be no consistency because some of the things Phantom allows for may not be the things that Diamond allows for, and vice versa. And if I go to a third table, like say I go to Gen Con and the pre-mades available to me, one of them is a lawman and I choose to play that, they may only accept me to play them as written. So it just leads to some deep inconsistencies because every GM tries to make the problem solve a different way, right? And I don't think that that's fair, given that the other roles, even in the places where they can be inconsistent, they are more consistent than the lawman is.
I just wonder if maybe, and I'm not gonna call for a movement or anything right now, but like, what if we need to petition, like to have Artal take a moment to reconsider lawman, because like I do believe lawman have a seat at the table of edge runners. They do, because you do have those cops that they're out to do the right thing, but also you have those that it's just like they got to make that extra money because the department's not paying them enough.
Well, and Phantom's played a lawman in games that I've been part of with him before, like where he's either been at my table or we both have been players at another table. And his lawman has always been fun to see work. And I think criminology is something that, like, if only the lawman's backup wasn't their only unique trait, I think that having elements like criminology be solely the domain of a lawman would be awesome, because it would just be like really making them feel unique and adding a layer of like fact finding to them that you just don't get. But again, anything we do with that is kind of doctoring them outside the confines of rules as written.
Yeah.
And while I know RTG has a very hard stance at like, please do things outside of our rules, the rules are not meant to be the only guideline. They are meant to just be a baseline. But it's like the roles feel like something they should function better out of the box as written than lawman feels.
I suppose one of the other things that I look for is, and I what's the word I'm looking for here with lawman?
What's the idea?
The 2020 lawman cop.
Yeah.
You could use your rank to exert your authority on others to. Now I understand that would be stepping on Rocker Boy's toes a little bit, but like I feel that, if applied the right way, it would be, lawman using it for very specific things.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they also get to add their rank to
Interrogation is one that I've seen a lot,
interrogation.
or we've talked about. I know with me and my crew a lot, when we've had offline
Like,
chats about it.
If I had to really put it down to it with lawman, like with that rank, and I'm considering it, I might need to have a lawman at my. Actually, I have a lawman at my table. I might have to talk to the lawman at my table. But sure, you have your backup. But you can, like, when you're doing a face down or a persuasion, or maybe not a face down, but like a persuasion, you can use your rank to push your authority on someone.
I would argue being able to use that in a face down would absolutely be appropriate. Like, because if you think about it through, even if you just like have your roll ability and add that to the face down, like, so you have a max 5 that you could, get added. That's still something. And truly, if you're that high level of lawman, like a rank 10 lawman, getting a +5 on top of whatever rep you have, plus the cool is like, that'd be incredible. And that really would matter, because at rank 10, you can call max tech in probably because you're just as good as they are. And that is a statement, right?
I think max tech is 9. You get like the FIA at like 10.
Yeah, and hating on Christian's ass isn't fact finding kind of a media thing. To be clear about the kind of fact finding I'm talking about with a lawman, I'm not saying that, because media fact finding is different. What I mean when I say criminology can be used as like a fact finding skill, it is a skill that hardly any other roles will take. Media is maybe the only exception to that. Unless you're really flavoring a character through your skill picks really deeply, and you've got like forensic, forensic analysis person, or like what's the word I'm looking for? Like a forensics net runner, like a CSI net runner, would be very, very cool to have, like, criminology in there, because then they could layer some of their knowledge together. Like, but criminology is a knowledge skill. And so the fact that lawman doesn't somehow have an advantage to that with the resources they have is weird to me. And I think that lawmen should have the ability to gain information using their background in ways that the other party members can't. And the media is similarly positioned through different veins to gain information other ways that the rest of the party can't. So it's like, it's all about channels and access, right? Media channels are going to look different than lawman channels. Both of those are going to look different than a rocker boy or a fixer's channels. So like, it's all about means and how, because you're going to hear very different things when you're a lawman versus being a fixer down at the underbelly of society, right? Whereas lawmen, you're kind of skimming the top, and fixers are typically on street level. They're deep in it. So it's like, different approaches open up when you have different types of information you can gather, is my conceptualization of it personally. I can imagine a great lawman. Or, well, hold up, let me read all these. So yeah, criminology and science forensics would be really good for that kind of character. Phantom, and you could structure these criminology, interrogation, and backup abilities similar to text and med text, where you're dumping into subsystems the role points. Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier. I don't know when you joined the stream, Phantom, but I was mentioning earlier, like, if you made lawman a forked progression and you gave like abilities for fact finding or political navigation as part of a forked progression for them, that would be very cool. Or at the very least, allow yourself to add some of your rank ability or some of the rank number, right? Even if you're like halving it or whatever, just having the ability to say, I get to add something extra to face downs or persuasion or interrogation or whatever, you know, like you get augmented social checks of some description for your authority, which makes sense to me. Because, like, think about it. You're in a room, a cop walks in, honest to goodness cop walks in, and walks to you and says, "Can we talk for a minute?" I don't care what the context of that ask is. It is elevated because it's a cop asking, right? Like, you're already wondering in your head, because it could be something as innocuous as, like, "Hey, I got called here because there was some kind of disturbance, but I haven't seen anything. Can you tell me what you think happened?" Right? Like, they could be just looking for basic information, not suspect you at all. Or they could totally suspect you, and you might have reasons to be nervous, not least of all, things like racial profiling. So, like, there's a lot you can do with a cop there that, like, they just didn't do with the role ability. And that's what we need to see that expanded at some point, in my opinion. Let's see. Imagine a great lawman similar to Reed from Phantom Liberty, or being under the control of a fixer. The rules don't facilitate it. See, it makes sense. I like the idea of lawman playing with reputation. Also, showing up to a party with an assault rifle as a lawman should come off differently than showing up as assault. Exactly. That's my whole premise. That is the thesis statement that I run with. Is like, when a lawman enters a room, no matter the context for the lawman being in the room, your heart beats a little faster. You get a little bit more tense. You start sweating a little bit, even if you've done nothing wrong, and you know it, that you've done nothing wrong. The fact that authority is present is a frightening prospect. Because, yeah, it changes the whole dynamic of whatever situation you're in. But yeah, like, Reed is a great example of, like, a lawman. Like, a lawman done to the high level, like, that is kind of what a lawman at the high level would look like. Because you've got a crew backing you. You, like, in my opinion, lawmen should feel like light execs to a point, with an emphasis on their authority. That is the way they should feel, and right now they don't feel nearly as impactful. But yeah, that is my take. Anything further from you?
I think I'm good.
Okay. Cool. Let's go on to the final one here, and we'll look at the kind of the reskins. So we've got the exec. The exec is too many new players, and I was included in this at one point. It is a role that most players are like, why the fuck would anyone in their right mind playing Cyberpunk play an exec? To them, I say, you just aren't thinking creatively enough. Because execs would go to the streets plenty if the things they needed to do involved the streets. Meet Uncle Larry. Those of you who have not watched Diamond streams, or I am a player, like earlier tonight, if you ever watch me play Uncle Larry in her games, you'll understand why I say execs just need a reason to be on the street. Because Uncle Larry is a discount turret salesman, is the kind way I could put it. Really, he's a bit of a grifter that wants to basically be the gun mart of in-place defenses, and is every bit as predatory as that sounds. But he needs to do his work on the street because he sells these things. Who's he going to sell them to? Well, he's going to sell them to combat zoners, mostly, because, you know, the people who live in the good part of the city probably have the money to afford better than we offer. And the people living in the combat zone typically don't get offered by the people that cost more, because they're like, why would we bother? One, it's a risk for the people we send into the district. Two, they're not going to be able to afford the prices we charge even if we do get to them. And to them, I say, you are not exploiting the whole fucking market, Chumba. So cue Uncle Larry with his wonderful driver, Sammy, driving deep into the combat zones, selling and sometimes flatlining gangers on these systems. And and it's wonderful. Like, his character is a lot of fun to play, and it makes sense why he has the kind of like resources that he does without it feeling like, I work for Militech, now you're on Militech's shit list. Come with me, mortal, we're going to Militech. And it's like, no, that's not the kind of exec I play. I play a really small corporation exec, and it's like, those do feel more street level, because in reality that is your lot in life. Greengrass is not a corporation that I expect to survive in the lore, but my god, is it a fun corporation to be part of in 2045. But yeah, execs are, so here's my 3-point list. For you play an exec if you can't decide what role sounds good and you want to play 2 or more from character creation. You also pick an exec if you like having financial advantages in the game and being able to exploit that into something greater. You also play an exec if you enjoy playing with power structures as a central part of your character design and gameplay. Because everything you do as an exec deals with a team. The team is played by the GM, but you still, like, you pick which members are on your team, and then the GM just runs them, and you have to keep them loyal by doing things. So, like, anything to add to that, Diamond?
And of course, as always, like Emmerron described, execs do have a place at the table. Some execs, they don't, some execs don't wear fancy suits and stay up in their high rises all the time. One of my execs, she deals with, she's a solo now, gaining levels in exec. She handles dirty work for Ziggurat now. Yep. If someone's getting a little too loud, someone's getting a little too nosy, well, sometimes people need to, go take a little swim.
Well, and you have another exec that works for Danger Gal, right?
Yeah, we have Ghost over with Team Law and Disorder, where she's primarily a detective that happens to have staff that's at her aid.
Yeah. Yeah, so, like, you've got these execs that absolutely would go into the streets if it meant getting the mission done. And even then, like, they might stay out in the streets if they realize, like, hey, I've got friends down here. All of that stuff. Trust your uncle, Vendit, let's see, hold on. Trust your uncle, Vendit air swarms are the future. Oh my God. Trust your uncle. Yeah, no, truly. Vendit air swarms are the future. Flamethrowers, you can deal with those. Air swarm drones, when you're getting your body ripped apart because you want to shake that thing a little too aggressively to shake out that extra packet of kibble, you'll be cursing it all the way to the fucking grave. It'll be beautiful. Now, execs are a lot of fun. I have enjoyed playing my exec. Again, I think this is another role that, like, if you're going to play one as a player, you just mainly need to consider your backstory and purpose as an exec. Like, why are you on the street? What is your mission? What is your goal? And once you answer those for yourself, it'll be a much smoother ride, and you can play on the street just like any other edge runner. Yeah, and then you get, like, 2 examples of what backup looks like for you. You have a driver, so this would be like my exec use a driver. His name is Sammy. He's a good kid. Today I watched him bean a dude's forehead against our trunk, and later on we flatlined that same dude. It was great. Honestly, I was so proud of Sammy today. That was a good moment. They also have a Netrunner here for the single shot pack. There are some other options in the core rulebook as well beyond these, like technicians and things like that, but you'll have to look at the core rulebook for those. But it does kind of help to, have some options for an exec.
And GMs, give your NPCs some personality. Like, somebody like Sammy. Sammy's he's a
pretty
kid. Stand-up guy.
He's a quirky kid, but he knows how to drive a car damn well. And I was so happy to see him get pissed the same way I was today, because I was like, the fuck you mean you sold the goddamn car for 10 grand? That's a 60 grand car, you fucking imbecile. Yeah,
No, it's only $5,900. I got it right. All right.
the funniest.
Look, I made him a fucking fool.
The fucking that was the funniest part when like we were having this conversation in Diamond's game tonight, and I'm like, Sammy, remind me, you're an auto jock. What the hell does one of these things go for new? And he's like, well, I think I saw that that wood chipper was selling one for 59 grand the other day, and that was a pretty good deal. I'm like, yeah, see, that's what I thought they were worth. and then I got to just shove it back in the other guy's face, and he was just like, oh no, I fucked up. Yes, you did fuck up. Yes. And now you got to explain to your boss why the fuck you sold this to another fixer when the most powerful fixer in the fucking city is going to be looking for it. Yeah, that was fun. That was legit. That was so much fun as an exec. Just having that bounce back with your team, like, that was super fun. Because, yeah, not all teams are made of assholes. Like, sometimes you do get along with the people you work with. And, like, I think playing an exec where that's true is honestly the way I've seen them played more often. Because, like, yeah, you like the guy. You know, like, I like Sammy. Sammy's a good kid. He's a little quirky, spends his money in weird ways, goes on drug binges in the desert, and has this very odd fascination that he says is his wife's with Barbie merchandise. But you know what? We look past that.
I mean, he tells the truth. It's that's just kind of the thing his wife collects. So, you know,
See, but
whatever
that's the
makes the
thing,
wife
like,
happy, it makes him happy.
But see, I always have to wonder, it's like, is it really for your wife, or is this something for you, Chum? Like, but that's fine. Like I said, I look past it. It's not a big deal. Like,
I mean, he drives your car.
Yeah.
He picks up what you need.
He does a great job at those things, and that's why I don't complain about it. But Larry definitely looks at that and is like, okay, yeah, you got some interesting interests, but rock on, Chumba.
One of my employees, my exact lookout. I mean, Cookies is, an older, very polite gentleman that's also one hell of a driver. But you just treat your employees with respect, or be a fucking dick towards them. I guess, but I tend to show my employees respect because I really don't want them to sabotage something I'm working on.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean that's just kind of it. And it is like, yeah, execs are just fun. They're fun as long as you and your GM both buy into the role a little bit. Like, you'll have a great time. It's another one where it's like, if you've got rapport with your GM, exec is going to be a lot of fun for you. Like the roles that you need rapport with your GM are like exec, exec media, and to a certain extent lawman, I think, just because honestly I think GMs need to doctor lawman a little bit. There's some house ruling that needs to happen there, and I think that there's a lot of ways you can do that, but it all comes down to like unwritten rules, and I think that some of those need to be codified.